Hello and welcome to In the News episode 2. The topics that are going to get talked about today is the indictment of Mayor Eric Adams. We have the one about the Hezbollah leader getting killed by Israel in Beirut. We have the JD Vance Dossier that was released on Twitter. A cool little video that I saw about Trump not really being shot, which, if you look at the video closely, anybody could have guessed that he wasn't really shot by the bullet. And then just an update about how the election's going and the current leads we see with that. So beginning with the first story from ABC7, we see that what is Mayor Eric Adams charged with? Read the indictment. So what we see is that New York City's mayor was charged with conspiracy, wire fraud, and bribery. Bribery, which is crazy to see, as a sitting mayor getting publicly indicted. Hasn't been, at least to my knowledge, from everything that I've been reading around the situation. Like, this is one of the first times this actually happened here in America, which is crazy to think about. So to go into it, we see that what the mayor is being charged with was that he not only accepted illegal campaign contributions, but he also sought them out, so he'll be asking for them as well. This is coming from Turkish diplomats who facilitated many straw donations to Adams and arranged for Adams and his companions to receive free or discounted travel on Turkey national airlines. So, and if you continue reading, you see he takes trips to France, China, Sri Lanka, India. Um, while I was reading this, one of the things, like, Mayor Adams took these contributions knowing they were illegal and aiming at buying influence. So he knew that basically, since he was the mayor, he had the power to, like, influence the diplomats' decisions on what he was able to do. So when we saw that, he received these flights or he received these gifts, he would create these fake paper trails to make it seem like everything was above board. So yeah, so this man, and then the conversation surrounding the mayor, were people saying that they always knew this man was corrupt. Like, it was always something fishy going around with him. So many people weren't surprised, especially with many of his policies being passed now, and especially the way he talks about it during interviews and stuff like that. This man seems like any means necessary he'll take to get his way through, which is kind of crazy. And then so again, Adams allegedly solicited and demanded the bribes. He helped Adams helped pertaining to regulations of the Turkish consulate in Manhattan. So what we see is that he'll fake, like I was saying earlier, he'll create fake paper trails um for the travel benefits. And then we can see that, he deleted messages and stuff like that to hide the fact that he was involved in an illegal act. And the mayor is accused of intervening in New York City's fire department procedures to benefit foreign interests. So one of those instances was Adam allegedly pressured fire inspectors to approve the opening of a Turkish consulate building, despite safety concerns, all in exchange for personal favors. So he fast-tracked building code, basically lying about it, so that the Turkish officials didn't have to, like, go through a whole thing of, like, getting it up to date with the New York standard. Then he received the gifts, and what we see is that if you ever watched the conference he held, I forgot where it was outside, but he brought some of his supporters to speak up. We can see that the entire time he was being protested by people, saying, like, for example, there's this one man who was yelling that he was a disgrace to black people everywhere, and basically that he was a fraud. And when they brought older people to start speaking, especially this older black woman who was there, people kept chanting and like interrupting stuff like that, which is kind of funny because basically this man was the mayor was using these supporters as shields to hide behind while they were getting heckled. He can just stand behind them and not endure it. And then move on to the next story, which is probably one of the biggest updates we've seen in the situation with Israel, where the Hezbollah leader confirmed he was killed in an Israeli airstrike, which basically kind of topples the power structure Hezbollah had. Because I should have found the image and included it here, but it showed the command structure of Hezbollah and showed that basically I think everybody was eliminated from that, showing that Israel, when they're not being held back by hostages, that they would go through any means necessary. Well, they already basically did with Hamas, but they're able to like ramp it up more and basically like show their power and getting what they need. By having all these airstrikes and assassinations and killings and stuff like that with the pages and stuff. We can see that they've been like very successful when we look with Hamas, where they have these ground invasions stuff like that, but Hamas is still there in their tunnels. Like Hezbollah, Hamas hides in civilian infrastructure with civilian people, and they still have their hostages, which many of the Israeli people want back, which many criticized the airstrike because they say that that's a way that makes it harder for them to get their families back from the hostage situation. But yeah, get into it. Hassan was killed in an Israeli strike on the southern suburbs of Beirut, and this one wasn't the first time Israel attempted to assassinate him. There's another time where they dropped another bomb on him. It was on top of the civilian structure, and he was hiding in a bunker under it. And they dropped the bomb, and then I think an hour later or the next day, he appeared on television to start talking like publicly to show people that he was still alive. And the fact that Hezbollah confirmed it, but not only did he not show up to like a press conference after the fact, shows that he actually did die in this attack. So what we see is that his assassination is by far the biggest and most consequential of Israel's targeted killings in years, and significantly escalates the war in the Middle East, as we see that Hezbollah is backed by Iran. And I think there's reports of the Iranian Supreme Leader also taken into safety. I think he also went like underground or something like that. But yeah, he was taken into safety after the airstrike. And then if you ever look at Twitter, the cesspool that it is, or like Twitch politics in general, you see that many people claim, and other people who are like anti-America or like shills for like Russia or stuff like that, where you see them basically saying that Hassan was the martyr. He was a martyr, and this only like, which is kind of true with the next statement I'm about to say, where it only emboldens the war against Israel, which that part is true, but the fact that he's being seen as a martyr is barbaric. And many of the people, such as there's this one interview with this one lady on Russia, I forgot the name of why am I blanking? Russia Times, Russia Today. Yeah, Russia. Yeah, right. Where she was in full tears, talking about the assassination about him. And of course, many of the people which I've seen like online, who are like pro-Palestinian, because they have the Palestine flags, or they have the watermelon symbols and whatever, or the viral clips you see from like people on Twitch, like Hassan Piker, saying that this guy, like, again, he's a martyr, or this guy was like the best guy, or blah blah blah. Like, how can Israel just kill him and stuff like that? When there's like reported interviews and stuff like this of this guy being like a monster, of him like hating the LGBTQ plus community, and yet people still support him, or people who are against Israel in general because they're anti-West, so they support everything anti-West, even though these people who are anti-West would be the same people who would kill these people, the supporters first, because they don't align with their politics, such as being, LGBTQ and things of that nature, which is like, ridiculous and stuff like that. But yeah, basically, this is just another high-profile assassination by Israel, and like one of the main things they're continuing to do, to vow to continue fighting, which kind of like ruins any peace talks that could be happening, which is almost a year from now when the war started with Israel and Hamas, which is crazy to think about because I can still remember the day where I was reading reports of Hamas like breaking through the gates and seeing all those videos and watching the Hamas militants like kill the concert goers. That whole situation was just very sad to look back into. Next thing is the JD Vance dossier. And when I first read this, the fact that there was this leak about JD, I thought it was gonna be like this crazy, like this crazy bring down of JD, but it's like still like important to look at because you can see that many of these people like what we already know is that they're like shills or like spineless losers who like say anything they want just to get to Trump's good side. So we can see that there's this journalist Ken Kilepstein. I hope I'm saying that right. He published this report into Vance, which was carried out by Trump's team on his Substack on Thursday. So this Vance dossier, I'm pretty sure I'm saying it's dossier, which contained tons and tons of sensitive information, which when we had the earlier reports of Iranian hackers who like hacked into the campaign of Trump, and what we saw is that it was like 3 men who were charged with this. But yeah, going back, he looked into that stolen information, and then he was able to publish the materials. So what this dossier contained was an examination by Trump's team into Vance's background. So they looked at his public statements, the media interviews, and official records to see what Vance was basically saying about Trump. And we see that the document highlights the potential vulnerabilities Vance could face if selected as Trump's running mate, including his previous stances and political views. And one of the things I've always seen, like before this dossier was released, was that was Vance's comments in regards to Trump's sexual assault allegations back in the day, which we'll read about later in the future paragraph. But yeah, we saw that the dossier showed Vance has publicly criticized Trump over the years. So I highlight issues surrounding Vance being added to the 2024 GOP presidential ticket. So one of the references towards the public criticisms Vance had was that in 2016 he asked what percentage of the American population has the real Donald Trump sexually assaulted, which he has been, accused by, and charged with in the reports that we saw. In the court case we saw back in June or July, I forgot which month was it, where he was convicted as being a predator. But yeah. So the document also noted that there's numerous issues, including potentially contentious views or what the dossier cites as controversial, such as supporting higher taxes for people without children. And one of the main reasons that we saw that this dossier was pulled from Twitter was that it included pictures of his properties. It had his phone number, his home address, and his emails that were all leaked. Of course, it says they were redacted, but regardless of the fact, his Ken's journalist Ken's Twitter account was suspended, which is a double standard that we see on Twitter, which claims to be the freest free speech platforms that we have. Yet they pulled this down. But any pictures of Hunter Biden's dick, his phone number, his addresses, any picture of him smoking his crack pipes with with the prostitutes and stuff like that are still being uploaded and left, right? So how can Hunter Biden be kept to this one standard, but JD Vance's information gets pushed, and then the journalist gets banned for that, but Hunter's stuff doesn't? It's crazy. Really stupid to think about, but yeah. And then one of the interesting topics I want to look into, like, it's Reddit Omega Bowl, but one of the things to look at was that Trump was not shot in the ear, so you can't really say he took a bullet for America when he wasn't really shot, which many people already knew of the fact. But if you follow the MAGA cult or any of these talking heads and stuff like that, you're like, oh yeah, no, they're lying, he definitely got shot in the ear, blah 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 blah. But I'm gonna link the video down below. It's like super interesting watch if you want to look at it, which I recommend because it breaks down that the bullet never hit him. But yeah, it's definitely a super good watch because he was never shot, and especially where if you look at the shooter and see the targets that unfortunately were killed, and where the bullets rang out, they never once were like any accurate shootings. So that's another point added to the fact that Trump wasn't shot really. But it's like, I don't know, it's really stupid to think about when people already knew the fact that he wasn't really shot in the ear. But yeah, it's definitely a good watch because you can see that when he put the band-aid on, you have all these unhinged MAGA cultists put a bandage on in their ear as well as support for Trump's. But later on, when he took away the ear, you don't see any injury or any signs that there was a bullet that went through his ear. You expect that if he got shot in the ear, at least a piece would be missing or something like that. But yeah, I'll link the video. I'll link the video in the description. If you want to give it like a quick watch, super interesting. And for the latest updates on the election, we can see that Harris still has a nice lead over him. Definitely not the biggest lead we've seen like before with up to like 3.5. Damn, like it definitely like trails down a bit. Oh my god, can't even wait on here. But yeah, like even though the fact that we see that Harris is leading Trump, this doesn't mean anything for the November elections because anything could change back until then. Like what we saw with the 2020 elections, when we saw these poll numbers that Biden would win by a landslide, and but it wasn't really the case. Where in reality, what we saw was that it was very like nobody. You gotta sit in your seat in anticipation to see the results and stuff like that. So regardless of the fact that Harris is leading Trump right now by 3 points, it's still super good to still go out and vote because even if you think your vote doesn't matter. And there's you plus your family plus your friends plus your community. If they all thought the same thing or their vote doesn't matter, that can mean that hundreds of votes don't get counted. So in reality, your vote does matter. So you just gotta change your mindset of, even though my vote individually, like in the national scale, like locally, it does matter. Your local vote does matter. Getting your voice heard locally, because that's where you see the biggest of changes. Even though statistically your one single vote doesn't matter in the national elections, it's still important to go out, because changing your own mindset to think my vote does matter nationally, if we have multiple people thinking that same way, then as a collective, all our guys' votes does matter and has the power to like sway elections and stuff like that. So yeah, still super important to go out and vote, get your voices heard. And even if you don't feel confident enough to vote in the election, like between Trump or Harris, I still say like go out, because you still have local and state elections and races and proposition measures that are still very important, that affect you in your daily life, right? it's just still important to go out and get your voices heard and vote. Like some workplaces give you the day off or a few hours off to do it. The simplest way is to do your mail-in ballot, so you can get it mailed, sign it, and on the way to get a coffee or on your way to go to work, or if you're going to exercise like a run in the morning, you can always just take your ballot and drop it off at a ballot box. So yeah, so it's always important to go out and vote. But yeah, that's the stories of today. Uh, I was feeling kind of lazy, so I didn't write down a separate page on my other monitor of like my talking points. So sorry, we're just kind of rambly, but yeah. Um, the closer and closer we get to the elections, especially here in California, I want to highlight like our own local election to see what's on the ballot and then see what's happening nationally to get like people informed. Like I'll plan to create a California voting guide where I just look over propositions and stuff like that, like read the arguments for and against it, and then I'll be giving like basically a quick rundown on how I would be voting in that, just to see for you can follow and see like, oh, maybe yeah, this does make sense, or maybe I'll look into this more myself and stuff like that. So yeah, just to get people, especially here in California, with you guys voting locally, just to give you guys more information so you know who to vote, not who to vote for. I mean, yeah, who to vote for, because I'll give you more information about the candidates and stuff like that, so you'll know, but you'll understand what those people do, what the propositions mean, what like a yes or no vote means on it. So yeah, that's one of the future plans when I stop being lazy and decide to read um all that information. But yeah, that's it enough for this video. Uh, if you fancy any other topics that you want to see covered, or like you saw an interesting topic of the week, like, oh, I kind of want more information on that, definitely like recommend it, because I want to definitely look into more a broader view of stories. Like one of the things I wanted to look at was Trump's unhinged comments during his rallies and people leaving early, which is kind of funny because you watch those rallies, this guy's like super unhinged. Like he's lost a plot. This guy is going senile. They made fun of Biden being old. This man has lost it. So yeah. And another one I wanted to see was like all the bills Newsom is passing right now. Or passing or vetoing. Like one of the coolest ones I've seen was making it easier to cancel your subscriptions. So places like Planet Fitness no longer can like say that, oh, you have to call them or like come in person to cancel your subscription. They make it easy to cancel. But yeah, that's one of the some of the few things I wanted to hit on and talk about. But that'll do it for this video. Hope you enjoyed, and smell you on the next one.